What is up, everybody? We're not late, man. We're 100% on time, and we're live, man. We're back over here for the NFC North Roundtable post-game show. I don't know what we call this. We don't call this a post-game. A recap show. This is our recap show, man. We're going to talk about the two games this last weekend. Honestly, a big surprise for me. One bar. We got to talk about that. I'm going to be honest. I'm surprised. I was a little saddened, too. But I think there's more storylines off of the results than anything that we can kind of discuss, especially on the Vikings side of things. So we'll get to that. But before we do, as always, give a shout out to our partner over here on the NFC North Roundtable, and that is BetUS, man, because if you use code YouTube150, you can get, this is full screen. I see you. You get a 150% deposit match on your first deposit, 125% on your next two, up to $2,000, man. They got the Lions. I don't like this.
Yeah,
I don't.
Wow.
They got the Lions. They got them.
What do
They
y'all
got them
think?
looking real good.
That's a big line,
Go
man.
down the line. What do y'all think, man?
10
10 points. Where would you bet on this? What side would you take? I'll go with you, Bass. You can start.
I mean, yeah, I feel like obviously the Lions are going to win this game, but I mean, given the Commanders 10 points, not even, I would have to take Commanders plus 10. Like, I would just have to, right? They're a high-scoring offense, and I think it could be like a shootout, but okay, say the Lions win by like 7 or something. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Nick, I mean, Nick, what do you think?
What kind of reaction do you want here, Dion? Do you want your good friend Donald, or you want me? No, I think I couldn't agree more with Baz. You want your good friend Donald? You got it. Okay.
Yes,
I got the Commanders absolutely doing that. They're a big part of Washington. Daddy's home in 5 days. I'm gonna go with the Commanders.
You're just taking the Commanders? Okay. One more.
No, I meant the spread. I meant the spread. No,
taking
I'm
the
taking the
spread.
Lions.
Okay,
I'm taking the
with you.
Lions.
All right. I mean, 10 points is a lot. 10 points is a lot. And one more. I'll throw one to you quick. So, okay, Rams-Eagles, 6-point spread. But, I mean, look, man, I think you're, like, best suited to kind of say, like, is this spread crazy? 6 points?
The Rams are my daddy right now.
Let's get out of
So
here.
I'm Eagle 6 points. I would take the plus 6 in the Rams. I think it'll be close.
Man, we're set up with some games, man. We're set up with some games.
Those
All
are
right,
gonna
that's
be some
BetUS.
damn
Shout out
good
to
games.
BetUS. We got some games this week. We got some new. Well, I guess there's a little bit of newness, but let's start with Nick. Let's start with Nick. I want to start at the bottom right here with Nick because Nick, you guys don't have a game. You have no game to talk about. But what we do have to talk about is coaching. The coaching search is like kind of heating up. It feels like, and Mike McCarthy got let go, and that's what I got to go right to here. Because man, I want to hear what Bass thinks too. Mike McCarthy,
I do.
The Bears.
I
What do
would
we think
love
here?
Big Mike in that building. That would be great.
Go ahead, Nick. What do you think?
Big Mike. He's a good guy. No, so the Bears coaching search is at 19 candidates at the moment across college and former coaches and coordinators. Obviously, Ben Johnson is the big one that the Bears are out to, and they're actually favored according to not BetUS. BetUS, I didn't look at their line for Ben Johnson. We could look at that in a little bit, but Bet Online said that that Ben Johnson's favored at minus 250 right now to go to the Chicago Bears. For me, I think that at the end of the day, with in regards to Mike McCarthy, I'm not against it. I'm not. It's a much higher bar than Chicago has had in a long time. And at the end of the day, I would love to see the Bears go out and get an experienced head coach. And right now, it's Pete Carroll and Mike McCarthy because Vrabel obviously went to the Patriots. If I were to choose between the two, I would go Mike McCarthy. He has a good resume. He has a winning record, 3 12-win seasons with Dallas before this past year. And I like him. I like what he brings on resume. Bears actually, for the first time ever, this is how pathetic the Bears have been forever. They flew Mike McCarthy in on a private jet to Chicago Executive Airport today, where they had a full day interview with him. By the way, they also interviewed Arthur Smith, former Falcons and current Steelers offensive coordinator, virtually in a different room while they were talking to McCarthy in another room. But Mike McCarthy is now at a private dinner that they didn't say, but it's in downtown Chicago from various sources. But they're whining and dining him. They're really taking this seriously. Kevin Warren, shout out to him for literally going to George and be like, we're spending money to bring in the best candidate. So we obviously can't talk to Ben Johnson until he's eliminated from the playoffs. If he does, or whenever that ends, even if it's after the Super Bowl, you can't sign him, but you can bring him in person on January 27th. I believe is its actual day, whether he's in the playoffs or not. So that's kind of where the Bears coaching search is. But again, in regards to Mike McCarthy, I'm not upset about it. He's my number 2 guy at the moment. It goes Ben Johnson, Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll, Aaron Glenn, and then Marcus Freeman if we can somehow break his Notre Dame contract. So Bears have a lot of options right now. I don't understand why we're interviewing some of these guys, but I also like that the Bears are being aggressive with it. But Baz, Dion, if you have more questions for me about the coaching, Baz, I would love to hear your take on McCarthy.
Yes, Baz, laid out.
Are you saying that as a please get McCarthy? I would hate this. Like I would hate this as a Bears fan, but I would love it as a Packers fan. Or do you actually see it being a good fit?
I mean, I think there's a lot worse candidates. Like you said, getting someone in the building that actually has experience, I think is where you should start if you're the Bears. I feel like you're getting a lot of coordinators, it seems, and you're bringing these guys in and they're very one-sided. And McCarthy is an offensive guy. And I'll say this about McCarthy. He was pivotal. Him and Tom Clements, who actually just retired, I'm sure we'll talk about for the Packers, a quarterback coach. He was pivotal in the growth of Aaron Rodgers, McCarthy was, because McCarthy is actually a former quarterback coach for the Saints back in the day. Yep. So McCarthy, I think would be a nice fit with someone like Caleb Williams, right? So I always look at McCarthy as like, you know what? He had a good time in Green Bay. It ran its course. Kind of similar to like what Andy Reid did in Philly. And I just think it just hasn't worked out in Dallas just because of Jerry Jones and the way, that organization is ran. So all jokes aside, like I think it wouldn't be the worst hiring for the Bears.
And adding on to that real quick, Baz, you can probably speak to it too, is that didn't McCarthy make Matt Flynn look like a legitimate quarterback while Aaron Rodgers was out that one year?
Yeah, so Matt Flynn got a big contract by the Seahawks. Yeah, he cooked the Lions,
right.
What was it, 6 touchdowns or something like that? It was crazy, right? That was a crazy
41.
Dude, that was a crazy game. Matt Flynn, man, he did what Sam Darnold couldn't, finish the year off with 6 touchdowns and get a contract. Sorry, one bar.
Turn off the camera, one bar. Turn off the camera. You're cooked. I'm just kidding.
I felt it lining up. I had to pull it. But yeah, he Matt Flynn, man, that guy banked on the contract and said, all right, hello, Russell Wilson, take my job.
But Baz, follow-up question for all the Bears fans that are in the chat right now is, which I don't see any right now. If you're in the chat, throw a bear down in there. For us, what are the negatives of bringing in McCarthy?
Oh, man. Negatives, I feel like, with McCarthy, he's very offensive minded and he can get very stale with his game planning. I remember there was always the thing going on with Mike McCarthy in games that would end up, our offense would start stale and it would always be run, pass. Mike McCarthy, here comes the run, pass. Like every drive, run, pass. And he didn't really have much innovation in the offense. He started to towards the end as the NFL started to, work on things in their offense and implement new schemes and whatnot. But I think he can get very stale at times, but I think he's overall a solid coach.
Yeah, that's a concern that we have is like, obviously he gets cooked in the first round as of late in the playoffs. I mean, like he has an 11-11 playoff record at the moment. So, but he does have a Super Bowl win, which is big. Yeah. But 4 NFC championships or is it 3 NFC championships and he's only won one of them? Because LaFleur went to 1 with Rodgers.
Sounds about right. Yeah. If he's only won one, kids have only been to 1 Super Bowl. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I don't mind it. I honestly like. I know I said McCarthy's my number 2, but it's very close with Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll would be a better if we go experience. Everyone's like his age is a factor. I'm like, this guy's parasailing at 73 years old. He's better shape than most 25-year-olds right now. So. At the end of the day, yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I like that the Bears are being aggressive. And we also brought in Ron Rivera, former Chicago Bear, who's on the '85 Super Bowl team, former Commanders. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what ends up happening. There's a lot cooking right there, but also like now you're starting to get like people talking about trading DJ Moore to other teams because the next coach doesn't like his attitude, and DJ Moore's quit on the team before, which. Yeah, you can tell by his body language he's not happy, but the dude's a competitor at the end of the day. So Bears offseason news is starting to really heat up right now. And the big news obviously came out, Caleb dropping today on the St. Brown podcast, is that he wants Ben Johnson. And so he was pranked that Ben Johnson was Ben
brutal.
Johnson texted
brutal.
And then he answered the FaceTime. He's like, "Oh, what the?" And then hung up. But then he talked about it. And then Caleb came out today and said he wants a leader of men. He wants a guy that's going to challenge him, a guy that's offensive minded that he can work with for the next 19 years. Like he wants a coaching, like a Brady Belichick legacy kind of deal.
Mm.
At the end of the day, I want Ben Johnson too. I think it's best because every head coach starts as a coordinator, right? At least in today's, it feels like that way.
Yeah.
And you got to start somewhere. So Ben Johnson could be the next big head coach. He's got that Detroit background with him. He worked with Dan Campbell in Miami. So we haven't, like, Dan Campbell is the alpha by far of that team. And Ben Johnson respects that that's his team. But I want to see what Ben Johnson would do if it became his team.
Well, I'll say, just hit on a couple of those things. To that interview, that was hilarious. I mean, look, man, that thing, it's like, that whole thing was hilarious, bro. And it's like, the Ben Johnson thing was great. It was kind of like they, I can't think what the other head coach was. Buffalo. Buffalo kind of did the same thing, just kind of bashing your offensive coordinator. He's not that good. But I want to hear your list again real quick, Nick, because I think you threw your list in there and it was like really quick. Did you have a list? You said your top 5? Because I want to hear what Marcus Freeman was. Marcus Freeman in that top 5? I missed it. So can you lay it out again?
Yeah, Marcus Freeman is number 5. So Ben Johnson, Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll, Aaron Glenn as number 4, and then Marcus Freeman at number 5. And there are some other good coordinators that we've talked to. Marcus Freeman is the only college coach that I would even consider making a head coach because what he's done with Notre Dame is really impressive. I mean, he's won 6 bowl games, lost technically 1, but he was in 2 of them his first year where he took over for Kelly. He's a great coach. I don't think that he's ready for the NFL level yet. That would be a huge jump. I would like to see him maybe go into the league as a defensive coordinator, but when he's making $9 million at Notre Dame, he's not going anywhere anytime soon, unless he becomes a head coach.
Okay. Well, I'll say that. The thing about the Aaron Glenn, because you did bring up the alphaness there, is that Alex Anzalone had some love. He was like, hey, Aaron Glenn, kind of like Dan Campbell a little bit. You know what I mean? Like from that perspective. So if that's what you're looking for, and I also say, I don't know if you caught this, Nick, from watching that interview. Felt like he was a very unsubtle kind of shot, like straight at his the whole coaching staff this season. Time management. We could use some help with time management. It was like, oh my gosh, okay, he's just taking just throwing it right at him now. It's like that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate that's where that was at, but that's how it went down.
Like people say, you got rid of a rookie's first head like Justin Fields when he came into the league, like you got rid of Nagy, but he didn't like Nagy. And Caleb Williams made it very obvious. Right after Eberflus was fired, he was like, yeah, no, it stinks. Next question. Like he doesn't care. So he wants a new coach. And for him to say that he wants Ben Johnson, I hope Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles are listening closely and the Bears are at least somewhat patient in their head coach search. I think McCarthy will probably end up going back to New Orleans. Like Baz was saying, he was their quarterbacks coach to really start his NFL career. But we'll see where the tides turn for the Bears in the next couple of weeks. Things are going to get really, really crazy in the next couple of weeks, especially with the new Kyle Shanahan trade rumor that just dropped about an hour ago. Apparently DJ Moore and a second for Kyle Shanahan. I was like, okay. I'll be covering that.
Yeah. You do that? You give him? Would you do that?
Absolutely not. I'm just putting that out there. No, that's because the Bears would have to chew $11 million in dead cap the first year. On top of it, they don't, and then you're losing another wide receiver for Caleb Williams. But at the end of the day, too, Caleb Williams and DJ Moore never seem to be on the same page. So it's an interesting one for sure.
Get him on the same page, Kyle Shanahan. Well, he wouldn't be there, but he gets somebody else on the same page. I don't. Hey, Bass, I want to go to you real quick because I've seen this and it's like grab some steam, and we can go back to, but the whole wide receiver 1 conversation is like a conversation.
Yeah.
And I just want to hear where you're at, like oh maybe they don't have a wide receiver 1, and then this happened.
Let me see. Hold on. There we go.
Xavier.
Yeah.
To Devontae Adams. Okay, is this reuniting? Are we getting?
Well,
are we after this?
Devontae said he'd never write off going back to said former team. Like that, everyone insinuated. Well, I think Kay Adams insinuated it was the Green Bay Packers in another interview. I mean, they'd have him at a cheaper deal than what they offered him originally. Right? If he signed to like a Mike Evans style type of deal, like a 2-year, right? To what they originally offered him, if he was still on the team, we'd be paying him less. I guess it just depends on compensation. Like, I mean, if the Jets were to have Devontae come over for a mid to late round pick or something, or something, something like that, like, yeah, I wouldn't say no to it. I think the Packers need to get more of a younger true number one. Like, yeah, you bring in Devontae and sure, maybe he's a number one for 1 year. I don't really know. I think the right thing, or what a lot of fans want, is just go out and sign T. Higgins, right? Like, if you're going to spend the money on a true number one, I think the guy's like 26 years old and hasn't really had the light to be a number one with Jamar Chase there, but I think he has the capability to do so, and at least would have more ability, I guess, than anyone in our room right now that's available, because Watson's not going to be back until minimal week 12. His dad stated online, that pretty much, he had the surgery and whatnot. Hey, he's going to be out until this point. His dad talks about, Christian a lot, and he does, but he's good insight. It's like, yeah, you're hearing it from the source. So it's good insight.
Yeah.
So we're not going to have Christian for the majority of next year. And if Christian doesn't get ready by week 12, so he's on the last year of his contract, his rookie contract. But the way the Packers can push that out into 2026 is if he's on the PUP the entire year plus playoffs, if they make it to the playoffs. Then that would push that last year, that rookie deal, into 2026, therefore not making the Packers having to extend him at that point. So if he's ready to go week 12, I'm sure they'll put him in. But if it's like a lingering issue, it's like, he's not quite right, they might just tank him for the rest of the year. And in that case, they're down to, Dobbs, Reed, Wicks, Melton, and Heath, who are all also under contract. Like, every one of our wide receivers are still under contract. And I had crazy high hopes for them this offseason, right? Like, I was on here talking about wide receiver groups. We all were. But, man, it seemed like early on, it's like, oh, Jaden Reed, look at this guy, true number one. And then off a cliff. So I think they really need a true number one wide receiver right now. And that was very evident, especially against the Eagles, considering we were without Watson, considering Dobbs and Reed went out in that game. I mean, Malik Heath, our sixth receiver, was like number 2. Like, that was our number 2 guy in that game. So I think the Packers should make a move.
Is there a guy, like, let's say they don't make a move, is there a guy of that group that you could see a future path, like that could be your number one?
I've always been a Tay Wicks guy. He started off the year very rough with all the drops, but actually later in the year, man, like he was honestly one of our most consistent guys outside of Watson. I'll always vouch for Tay Wicks. I think he's one of the best route runners in the league, and he's consistently wide open, consistently dropping. I haven't seen a receiver like it in a very long time. Like, this guy's cooking people on routes. He has 5 yards of separation, just hits them right in the hands. Like, it's crazy. If you go watch his tape, it's actually wild. So I think if he cleans that up, like, this dude could be dangerous.
Okay. All right. And then, okay, now one bar I want to go to you before we hit the games or anything. Like, one bar, all the conversation is about the whole quarterback situation. So I didn't want to. I wanted to find something else, but I don't think there's anything else to really go into. So I just want to ask you this, like, how has your stance now changed? Because I think the last time we talked about this, you were like, yo, you can't basically throw away everything he's done. And I actually agree with that. And just my quick take on this before we get to the game, I thought KOC let him down a little bit. Like, we give a lot of praise to Kevin O'Connell, and I think rightfully so, but it's like, yo, 2 weeks in a row, man, this can't happen. Like, you got to find a way to help him get some answers. And I put more blame on Kevin O'Connell than maybe most personally. But just where are you at with the whole Sam Darnold thing? Daniel Jones seems to now, I don't know if they signed him or not. I think they did, but he seems to be like a real part of the conversation of like, well, maybe this guy's a piece going forward. So where are you at with Darnold? Where's your updated status after this last game against the Rams?
I mean, Dion, you're right. I mean, KOC, the last 2 games were brutal. I mean, he's a damn good coach, but you gotta put it out there. I mean, he had a rough go at it, but the other side of things is Sam Darnold. Obviously, these last 2 games were like everyone. Obviously, it's the old Sam Darnold. He's back. He did this, and everybody is writing off what he did on this season. I'm not doing that by any means. The dude had a season. The dude balled. He beat some damn good teams and showed up big when he had to show up. But the big question were those games too big for him? Did he crap the bed? And he absolutely did. And he's going to have to live with that. And the dude lost a lot of money. He did. I mean, he's still going to get paid. Somebody's still going to sign this guy and give him some serious money. But the biggest issue with me with Darnold was just the sacks he was taking. Like, was he trying to overcompensate? Was he trying to just look for that big play when he had Jalen Naylor wide open for a first down? He would look at him and he's just like, yeah, screw it. I'm going to wait this thing out. And then he gets sacked. To take 9 sacks, and when he was taking them, it was like, dude, like high school quarterbacks don't take these sacks. They're throwing the ball away. He would refuse to throw the ball away. So the decision making was bad, and you can't put that on O'Connell because a lot of the times there were open receivers. He just was not letting go of the ball. On the other side of that, though, I mean, when you talk about Kevin O'Connell, the play calling was bad. There was no urgency. It was just a weird vibe. If you guys watched the game, it looked like they were half dead. We're going to talk about the game, but it was just weird. And I honestly think the stage was too big. Darnold has never been in those situations, and that's not how he played this year. It's not. Like, not even close. He played with a don't give a crap attitude. He was chucking that thing. He was throwing it downfield. And he would have a couple bad passes a game, but that's just not the Darnold we saw. And as far as moving forward, I mean, Kevin O'Connell, the way he's talking about it, like there's really no way they're going to pay him after that performance. I think if he beat the Rams and maybe had a competitive game the next round, like it's actually a conversation, franchise tag for a year, let McCarthy come sit for a year. But I think it was so bad, and Kevin O'Connell was so defeated after that game, and the way he was talking, like, hey, he did good while he was here. Like the things he was saying, it's like he's not coming back. I mean, quarterback-wise, J.J. McCarthy is going to get the reins. It's going to be his show. The Daniel Jones, he was signed to the 53, so if we don't bring him back, he's in the comp pick. But like Daniel Jones coming back he's not starting any games. I mean, if he's coming back, he's going to be the backup. Daniel Jones will be the backup. And if you're a backup quarterback and just saw what Sam Darnold did on this team, I want to be a backup quarterback for the Vikings if I've been a complete bust for the Giants. So it's a win-win situation. We don't want to see him on the field, but maybe he comes here, sits around for a year, gets his bearings, hits free agency after that, and sees what happened. But it's the J.J. McCarthy show from here on out. It blows. I keep saying it on my show. It just sucks because everybody's going to remember this season with Darnold's last two games and just wipe away the fact that he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. And he was. He just crapped his pants. And everybody got to see it because there were two back-to-back Monday night games.
But one bar, I feel like I'm okay. So I feel like I know what you think is gonna happen, right? But you're also telling me don't like overlook what he did for the full season. So from you, if I was asking you and it was like your decision, would you tag him? Would you be like, hey, let's give him the tag, let's bring this guy back for another season? Because it feels like you do believe like, yo, he had a really darn good season. So if that's the case, and if it was on your plate, like maybe we shouldn't just walk away from the guy and force it on J.J. McCarthy.
Nah, I mean, it's a tough. I wouldn't tag him just because, as a fan, and as like if he comes out in week 3, like everyone's going to be calling for J.J. McCarthy anyways, and you're going to pay this dude $40 million. And if 1-2 games into it, they're gonna be like, he's back to the same thing. Like it's just gonna be like McCarthy's gonna see the field anyways. So it's best interest of both for Darnold and the Vikings to just move on. I mean, if you could tag him and trade him, but it ain't gonna happen. I mean, that's to me, that's a little bit fantasy world. Like if he would have went out swinging, it's just such a bad taste. It's such a bad taste for those 2 games. And it's crazy that they were 1 game away from getting that first round bye. I mean, they got their asses kicked in that one too. But I just think the ship has sailed. I've been the biggest Sam Darnold guy all year, and there hasn't been many. I mean, even Vikings land are just like over it. So I think he goes out. It'll be interesting to see what he gets paid, but I don't think it's gonna be by the Vikings at all.
Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers watch. Aaron Rodgers watch.
I would love that. Just like I've already said it, just to see that dude in purple, just so everybody has to see that. I don't want him to play. It's J.J. McCarthy. If he's healthy, it's him. I mean, that's the future. He looks like he's 7 years old, but he's the future.
He didn't look like an NFL quarterback, bro. When they showed him,
that's
J.J. He looked like a 13-year-old boy. The guy has gotten younger.
Like he'd be on Outer Banks, bro.
He's got Benjamin Button disease, man. He's gonna look like a baby coming first week next year.
Like Andy Milonakis out there, dude.
He's the hope. He's the hope. All I can say is if you can take Sam Darnold and mold him into what he did, the thought of a rookie quarterback coming from Michigan was in big time game. Like it's exciting. It might hit the fan, but it's damn exciting.
And so you're okay, like if this is a disaster, as long as he's out there and he's learning, it is what it is. Like you're okay with that. Like if there's a path where it's really bad.
The unknown for how young he is right now, like, I don't expect him to have a Sam Darnold season next year, if that's what you're asking. I expect him. Expectations are high. He's going to have to live up to them. It's the highest quarterback the Vikings have taken, so expectations are high, but they also have to be in check. I mean, there's going to be a lot of bumps and bruises. The Sam Darnold that we saw this year was more of the, you know what, I've sucked so bad, I'm just going to lay it all out there, and that's what he did, and it worked. JJ McCarthy is just a wee young lad, wee young pup. He's got a lot of bumps and bruises ahead of him, but he's got a damn good supporting cast. They just got to get an offensive line in front of him.
Just they need some offensive. All right, let's transition. This is perfect time then. Let's go to this game. Look, for me, I was disappointed. You know, I felt bad for Sam. I just hated how that ended. It just wasn't supposed to go that way. I just wanted to see it, and I really thought the whole time I was watching them, where I was like, they're gonna come back. They're gonna come back. When TJ Hawkinson made a ridiculous, I mean, they made like 2 insane grabs on that drive. When he made that, I was like, they're gonna come back. And then when they didn't get to 2, it's like, are they? So one bar, in your words, like, what the heck happened? Well, why did the game turn into 27-9 Rams?
It was insane. It was tough to watch, and I already said it, but they were outcoached, 100% outcoached. They were outplayed on both sides of the ball. Defensively, you know, they hung in like they did with the Lions for a while there. When Stafford did that pass, the fumble that got turned over, Cashman took that thing in. I mean, it was going to be a tie ball game at that point, and after that, the win just was gone. The sails were just gone, and they just couldn't do anything. And it comes back to those 9 sacks. It comes back to the weird play calling. I mean, Kevin O'Connell in the third quarter, when, you know, it was out of reach, but it was still doable. They're walking up to the line like they're up by 30 points. They're calling run plays, and it was the announcers were even just like, what the hell are they doing? And I keep saying this, but this is not how the Vikings have played all year. I don't know what happened in the last 2 weeks. Like, the Vikings were good this year. The 14 wins speak for themselves. And the last 2 weeks were just nothing. Defensively, they showed up. I know the Lions put up 31, Rams put up 27, but defense were doing their thing to keep these guys in the game. It's just when you're on the field that long, stuff's going to happen. It was inexcusable. It was unexpected. Darnold taking sacks that were just you don't see that in the NFL. You don't see that amount of sacks. 6 of those puppies were on him. He's holding on to the ball for like 7 seconds in the pocket, thinking something's going to happen. The Rams did have a good game plan. Their defense, I mean, those guys, Jared Verse, dude is the real deal, man. He was up on our ass. Brian O'Neill had a rough game. Offensive line was just brutal. The interior offensive line is like, if they don't have 3 new offensive linemen in the interior, they're doing something wrong. But it just sucks how it went down, because that's not the team. What the future holds with JJ McCarthy coming in, it'll be very interesting to see what this team looks like next year. It'll be very interesting to see what Sam Darnold does. But what it all comes down to, KOC, Sam Darnold, the 3rd and 8 sack. Still, it was 3rd and 8 in the third quarter where they're going to go for it regardless. The dude takes a sack for like 11 yards.
So bad.
Like, everyone was dumbfounded watching this shit, because it was just, you couldn't make it up. And if you didn't like the Vikings, this was the game to watch, because I would have just been sitting back, soaking this thing in, because it was an absolute train wreck. KOC is 0-2 in the playoffs. He's got to step up. He's got to step up, because whatever that shit show was isn't going to fly. It is not going to fly. No excuses. Laid an egg. If I'm Justin Jefferson, I'm so pissed off right now.
Dude, it was so weird. It's such a weird game to watch. You know what it was though for me, one bar. Like, I think what was this told this story, and then you hit that offensive line. It was like, it almost felt there was just no run game. And I thought, especially in the beginning of the year, it was like Aaron Jones. We talked about like the emergence of that, like how much he meant. It just feels like when things went wrong, man, it's just, we kind of took the run game and it just wasn't a part, at least from my perspective, it just wasn't a part of the conversation anymore when things went bad. And like, even this game, to what you were saying, they were trying to run it at the end, and it was like, even when they tried to, it was like, all right, we got to look, let's just run the ball and like, let's pop one of these. It's like they couldn't pop it. It was like 4 yards. It's like, that's a problem. There's something not working here, and that's a real issue, that you can't run it when no one's expecting you to run it, and it should at least be a positive. It's like, yeah, we're going to waste our time, but at least we're going to get some yards. You got like 3 yards. It's like, what the heck is even the point of this? So it's like, the offensive line, at very least, one bar, I think there's a clear urgency that offensive line needs some fixing. And he wants to get that right. It's like, well, where's the holes? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. One bar, is that everything for you on the Vikings game? And I want to get
Yeah, I
your
mean,
thoughts.
even the Rams at the end were just like, what the hell? They're running the ball. I mean, it's like the middle of the fourth quarter. What the hell are they doing? The biggest issue, not only the score, not only what happened, my biggest issue is just the dead looks on their faces at the beginning of the game. They look like they just watched a whole group of puppies get ran over by a semi. I don't know what happened before that game. Like, they weren't into it. I mean, this is shit we used to see with Mike Zimmer, where they would come out and you could just tell, like, nobody's into it. What's going on? You guys should be fired up. Like, let's go. I mean, even in Arizona, they moved it. Over half the fans were Vikings fans. That was a damn home game. It was disappointing, disheartening. And after a great season, 14 dubs, beating some damn good teams, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Did they need to redo the seating? Is that like a takeaway? Like, yo, seating is a mess. Like, did you feel that after that? Or you?
No, it is what it is, to be honest. Like, I mean, it is weird, a 14-team win. But it's the rules, man. There's a lot of shit I don't like, but it is what it is. That thing could have been played in my backyard. They still would have lost. There was no win in that game. They weren't ready for it. We had 4 losses, 2 against the Lions, 2 against the Rams, both back to back.
It's a mess, man. Hey, let me get a shout out to Rufus Hayes with the 20-piece.
Go.
Respect to all the NFC North creators. I enjoy watching you guys through the season, but now it's a Lions world. You guys are living it. Okay, I honestly didn't know it was going to take that turn. It's a fantastic turn it took. I'm glad. I didn't read it first. I appreciate you, Rufus, for the 20-piece, man. That was a fantastic comment. Nick, thoughts on this one? What'd you take away?
Yeah, I mean, one bar said it, there was just like no energy out there. And can we talk about that? Justin Jefferson just looked mad the entire time he was out there. Like, we were talking about DJ. I mean, yeah, but his body language was terrible. And I like DJ Moore. I was talking about that earlier, but Justin Jefferson looked pissed off the entire time he was out there. Didn't look like he really wanted to be out there at some points. And the Rams just had a lot more energy. Obviously, shout out to everyone that was impacted by the LA fires. Like, I'm happy that those guys played their hearts out for the city of LA, because I like that they were wearing the LA Fire Department shirts. I thought that was a really nice gesture. And then the NFL was like, yeah, absolutely do that. Because in the past, I believe teams were fined for something like that, which is absolutely ridiculous. But shout out to the LA first responders for all that you guys did and are doing still. I know it's crazy out there right now, but the Rams just came out. I'm trying not to use a pun of fire. They came out with their punching everybody in the face. I mean, there was a lot of energy from that LA sideline. Sean McVay, and shout out to him too. I mean, this Rams team earlier in the season when the Bears beat them, they were like, all right, is LA like falling apart? Is this dynasty like, over? And LA just turned it around. They're a really hot team right now. So the Vikings they went against a really tough team. Sam Darnold just did not look like himself that we've seen all season. But also the defense. Brian Flores, who just got confirmed to be meeting with the Bears later this week, like, that did not look like the defense I've seen all season out of him. So one bar, like, what do you think happened there? Like, the game plan looked entirely different than it has when you're the 5th leading sack team in the NFL in the regular season. Like, they just look like they didn't have that spark like they usually have.
No, I mean, they got to Stafford more than they did the first game. I mean, I actually thought they played better defensively against them than the first game. They kept it close. It just at the end, they just blew it out. I mean, at halftime, it was a close game, just like the Lions. And they're just tired. The offense comes off the field, goes 3-0, punts the damn ball, and guys like Grenard and Van Ginkel just can't do it. Blake Cashman played his ass off. Ivan Pace played his ass off. Harrison Smith, probably his last game as a Viking, had a good game. They were just damn close to making a few big plays, like that fumble. Harrison Smith almost had an interception. They just couldn't do it. I mean, defensively was the least of my concerns, even though they put up 27 points. It wasn't their best, but they did enough.
Bass, you got any takes on this game?
Yeah, be honest. I mean, I turned it on I think in the late 3rd or early 4th, and I was shocked. Like 27-9. Like I thought the Rams were a good football team, but I didn't expect them to kind of replicate what the Lions did. And it seems like the Lions kind of made Sam Darnold see ghosts again, because at one ball, what you were saying, like how he was just missing wide open guys. Like, we didn't see that from him all year. Yeah, sure, he liked to hold the football a little bit longer than most quarterbacks, but he did a good job at avoiding sacks, which clearly he did not do in this game. And that was a downfall of your offense for sure. Like, if you get sacked 9 times in a game, like, most of the time you are losing that game just because they come at important moments, as you said, on that 3rd and 8. And Dion, you said it as well, man, the lack of run game. You know, Aaron Jones was that guy they're bringing in, and it seems like every time the Vikings had a rough game, like Aaron Jones had less than 4 yards per carry. So it seemed like there was always kind of it matched up there as well. But Rams, man, they're an interesting team because, you know, you talk about playoff teams every year and you go, hey, sometimes it just matters about getting hot at the right moment. And besides the last week where they benched their starters, I mean, they won 5 straight and they literally went into the playoffs like super hot. So I think they can beat anyone right now just based off what they did to a 14-win team, you know, 27-9. So I think it was very telling that like you said, one bar, that I think they'll move on to JJ McCarthy. And Darnold, man, he had it all there right in front of him the last 2 weeks. He had it all there right in front of him and seemingly threw it away. Had an interception, had a fumble. But this shocked me. I thought it'd be a lot closer of a game.
Well, there's a real quick intermission here. See, I didn't know this. I mean, congratulations. Like, I didn't know this was the thing. There you go.
I'm sure they're watching. So yes, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, guys. Pan to Taylor Swift in the press box.
All right, let's look, man. Honestly, though, like the Packers game, I don't know that many were like shocked that like the Packers didn't win, but like it was. I think a lot of people walked away like, yo, the Eagles look kind of rough, and I give a lot of credit to the Packers, man. Josh Jacobs is an animal. Like, I don't know what is the contract for Josh Jacobs? What's his deal looking
like?
It's
a 4-year deal.
I doubt
it's a 4, but the Packers always like orchestrate
deal.
their running back contracts where you can kind of get out after 2 years, but you can continue it if you want. It's kind of like an NBA option sort of thing going on there.
That's not great. So, you know, it would be okay if that was like, hey, it's a 1-year deal. Let him go get a big deal elsewhere. No, he's sticking around. But, man, yeah. Bass, I'll start with you. Takeaways from this game.
Oh, this is rough. The Packers played like hot garbage on offense. You know, when I was talking all week about the confidence I had in this team, it was based on the fact that, hey, they need to go out there and play their A game and force the Eagles to make mistakes. And what do they do on the very first play? Fumble the kickoff. Like, at that moment, you as a Packers fan, you're like, we're done. Like, I hate to be that fan. Like, it's 15 seconds into the game, but you're like, we're cooked. Like, this is not good. Not only after that, the Eagles score an easy touchdown because we brought a 4-man rush against one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. And I think Jalen Hurts could have lit a campfire back there and find Jahan Dotson, who's done nothing all season for them, in the back of the end zone wide open because you can't cover that long, right? I was watching the film, and don't get me wrong, like, this Eagles offensive line is amazing. So I wouldn't expect 4 of our defensive linemen to get home. But like, I watched Rashawn Gary go against Jordan Mailata and just get absolutely like slammed to the ground. I was like, that I mean, holy. And then you have Devontae Wyatt going against Landon Dickerson, stonewalled. You have Kingsley Enagbare going against Lane Johnson. Like, who expected that to work? And then you have Kenny Clark double teamed by Cam Jurgens and Mekhi Becton. And Jalen Hurts literally had all day in the pocket to throw. So then they go up 7-0. Then they kick off the ball yet again. Dixon says, yeah, screw what happened last time. Let's take it out again. And we get a holding call on John Fitzpatrick. So now we're starting at our own 13. I'm like, you can't make this shit up. Like, you couldn't make this shit up. And the Packers, again, couldn't stay out of their own way. And everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And I got to give credit to the Eagles defense, man. That is a terrific defense. I knew this going in. Santana, the FGB, man, you gotta chill. Come on, man.
Yeah, Santana. Holy cow, man.
We get it.
You're getting to Baz's head. You're living
very
there,
adamant.
Santana.
He's very adamant.
He's gonna keep going, man. You know what,
yeah,
Santana?
Now he's really
keep doing your thing, man.
But as I was saying, the credit to the Eagles defense, man. We knew this going in, right? Like, the number 1 defense in the NFL, the number 1 pass defense in the NFL. Where they were weak was the run defense. They were 10th. So it's like, okay, like, maybe Josh Jacobs can get this thing going. And their first play was a shot play not a shot. It was like a deep dig, but Jordan Love overthrew it and almost got picked off by Gardner Johnson. I was like, I don't know what we're doing out here. Not to mention this, man. Jordan Love, 20 of 33, one of his worst games of the season, but I don't think LaFleur helped him at all. When you go look at the advanced analytics, 3 play action plays all game. That's it. I don't know why you're going to do, and I think it was 3 or 4 screens as well. If you're going against the number 1 pass defense that has the likes of Darius Slay, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, Gardner Johnson, guys that they can lock people up. They're ballers back there. Straight drop back is your way to beat that? I don't think it is. You got to at least And then not to mention, without play action, at least under center play action, you're letting the linebackers just sit there and see your lineman pass set and then drop back. And that's exactly why Zach Bond got an interception on Jordan Love. He's sitting there right in the pass lane because you didn't threaten run. You didn't make these linebackers go up and say, hey, we got to stop Josh Jacobs, right? And then it seemed like multiple times on 3rd down and short, whether it was 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, they're treating it like it was 4th down. They're bringing in Chris Brooks, having him in a pass protector position, like kind of not in shotgun, but like in front of the quarterback a little bit. You guys know what I'm talking about. And it's like, you're not even threatening this. Like, if this is the Lions, they're going 3rd and 3. Like, I'm running this shit because we're going for it on 4th, right? Like, it's so much, it's like complacency, man. Like, I don't know, man. It infuriated the hell out of me. I do want to say the Packers defense impressed me, right? Like, the Eagles, considering everything that happened, Jordan Love threw 3 interceptions and one was on like the final offensive play. So whatever, 2 interceptions early in this game, the fumble on the opening kickoff, and we were only down 10-0 at half. You know, you can't score 0 points in one half in a playoff game in the other opposing team stadium and expect to win. So it falls completely on the offense. But at the same time, the offense endured a ton of injuries. Watson was out of this game. Elton Jenkins goes down after 4 snaps. He's been our best pass protector. He's the best pass protecting guard in the NFL via PFF. Then Romeo Doubs goes down with a concussion. Then Jaden Reed goes down. He separates his shoulder. And even late in the game, Josh Myers went down. So, like, we were banged up. Even if we somehow miraculously won this game, like, I wouldn't be too confident going into this week just because of all the guys that we lost in this game. And the offense, man, it fell apart. And everything that hurt the Packers this season against good teams, it reared its ugly head. It really did. Just, you know, mental mistakes, bad play calling. And again, the defense I thought was great, you know, to hold Jalen Hurts to 131 passing, you know, Saquon 120 and 25 carries. I would say that's a good running game. Like, everyone would agree, but I think a lot of people expected Saquon to go off more. And then the leading receivers, Devontae Smith, 55 yards. AJ Brown had 1 catch for 10 yards. I mean, the only person they really had any strength or any positives against, like, throwing was Carrington Valentine. They were picking on him all day, and he got stiff armed into oblivion by Dallas Goedert. So that definitely just, like, yeah, at that point, just get on the bench. Like, just get on the bench. We can bring in Eric Stokes, who played like 1 snap, even though we don't like him either. But thank you, Joe Nathan. Appreciate you so much for gifting the NFC North Roundtable. Joe Nathan, a big time supporter of my channel, so appreciate you, buddy. But yeah, it was disgusting. I mean, Packers played like garbage. Their offense played like garbage, and there's a lot to fix for this offseason.
There you go. Hey, Nick, I was gonna go to you, Nick. Nick, you got any takes on this game?
I mean, like, I just feel like watching. So I watched the whole thing, and I just felt bad. I just feel bad for Baz. Like, the fact of how many wide receivers went down, like, it felt like every play a Packer was hurt, and I was like, holy crap, man! Like, the lineman that got you watched his shoulder literally like pop like that, and his whole body moved. I was like, oh.
He couldn't move his arm for like the rest of the night.
Yeah, and then on top of it too, all the wide receivers that, you know, just got popped, and who got the concussion in the end zone? Bad,
and he already is wearing the padding on the helmet because he had a really bad one like a month ago and was out for 2 or 3 weeks. So
that was so tough to watch because I was like, he's wearing the protective helmet, and then on top of it, he can't get out. And then the trainers are carrying him. He's barely walking on his own power. You can tell he's not really like speaking or anything. So it was absolutely it was tough to watch. And Philadelphia just kept, you know, popping guys. And that one interception by Philadelphia's linebacker in the first half, he was a big special teams asset too to them. He was all over the place. I mean, Philadelphia was playing on a different level against the Packers. And they, you know, it truly showed that they're one of the best teams in the NFC. I think that, you know, they played a heck of a ball game. The Packers, if they would have been healthy entering this one, I think if they would have had Christian Watson, it would have been a lot different game. But at the end of the day, it still was a decently close game, all things considered. Like, the Packers weren't blown out by any means. Cooper, I believe, is on your defense, Baz.
Yeah.
He's the linebacker. That dude's gonna be a big problem in the NFL. He was making Jalen Hurts have a lot of problems. So I think that if the Packers would have been 100% healthy, it could have been a lot different game. But all things considered, with the injuries and everything, I thought Green Bay came out, did a good job in Philadelphia, a super tough place to play. But at the end of the day, The season's over. Green Bay is hanging out with Chicago in Cancun
Starting the
right
mock
now.
drafts, baby. We're starting the mock drafts.
It's mock draft season, baby. That's all I gotta say.
Welcome,
Baz.
Nick's on episode 10 mock draft.
Hey, listen, I actually have only done one mock draft.
That's cool.
During the offseason. I did one before the season ended because I knew our season was over. But I've only done one so far, but there'll definitely be one coming very soon, dropping a subtle hit.
It's exciting times. Like, yo, if y'all want Bears content, go follow Nick because this is exciting times. Like, as a creator, man, it's like, yo, the coaching search, then the draft, bro, everything's about to change. And it's like, yo, the
82 million in cap, baby. Come on, we're gonna spend some money.
It's a lot of fun, man. Because now because you already kind of got a little foundation. You got your quarterback, so it's like, just what are we gonna do? Everything's on the table. One bar. I'll go to you. One bar. Any takes on this one?
I'm gonna be gentle because I know Vikings just got their asses kicked and the Packers got their ass kicked. The biggest takeaway for me really out of this was just that how beatable the Eagles could have been. Like I think the Packers could have beaten the Eagles without playing a perfect game. I thought going into this is like the Packers are gonna have to play perfect to beat Philly.
Yeah.
And that's more of a gut punch from a Packer fan. It's like, damn, we didn't even have to play perfect and we would have had a chance to beat those guys. And their defense played very, very good. The Packers did. But to me, like, it's funny you said that, Baz. Like, one of the main things I had was where the hell was the play action? I don't even remember them doing play action. So you said three of them.
And I think two of them were shotgun, which doesn't even count because you're instant pass setting from your lineman. Like, you see it. Like, the linebackers see it. Crazy.
Yeah, no play action. Continuously just slow starts for this Packers team. Like, I don't have it in front of me, but it seems like every game they're just off to a very, very slow start. The Nixon dude, I would have been pulling out my hair watching that guy. And then the Carrington Valentine, I mean, I don't know if he's retired yet, but he should strongly consider it because that's going to be on every one of his highlight reels. That was tough to watch, but it comes to me. It wasn't the defense. Defense showed up. They did enough to win this game. It was LaFleur and it was Love. It was just like those two just had a brutal game to watch. And Jordan Love, like, obviously this was I don't know if Baz, to me, this had to have been one of his worst games of the season. I'm not even looking at the interceptions really. I mean, that last one was a throwaway to me, but just decision-making was just weird. And he had some open passes. I mean, granted, some of those touchdowns, like, he had guys, they would have had to have been a beautiful throw, but he had some guys where he could have scored. And when you're making that much cash, when everybody's relying on, you got to make some of those things. And he just didn't do it. He did not do it. So to me, it comes down to LaFleur. It comes down to Love. And that is 100% why this game ended that way. And I'll give hats off to the defense again. And Josh Jacobs, that thing was Earl Campbell-esque.
That was crazy.
I was actually hoping he would have got in the end zone just because it would have been even prettier. But again, like the Vikings game, like Josh Jacobs seemed like one of the only guys on the Packers that was like ready to go. Give him the ball. Yeah. That dude is going, man. He's pissed off. He's running with authority. And everyone else is just kind of like, it was just weird. It was weird. Yeah. Got to show up. Got to win those big games. But that was my biggest takeaway was just the fact that I think Green Bay could have beaten them. And honestly, even if they were healthy, I don't know if they would have won that game with LaFleur and Love.
Questions. Okay. Well, look, man, I'll say this. The one thing I'll take away is like seeing one bar's pregame that you did for the Lions-Vikings game, standing out in the cold like that. That might be the thing that these teams need. You know, one bar is the energy guy. There's some way maybe they need something like that. Let's like stand outside and watch a preview video. I mean, like that gave me energy. It was like 2 minutes long and I was fired up. So
my prediction was very wrong, just to be clear.
Well, I wasn't gonna bring that up. I wasn't gonna bring up the prediction. Man, hey, that was our recaps of this week, man. As the chat's saying, we got one NFC North team left, and I know y'all are all Wait, I was gonna pull up the chat because I wanted to see like quickly like around the room, like where are y'all at? Are you guys like pulling? Because I know there was like always like as a Michigan, there was always like Big Ten fans that were like, oh, I'm rooting for the Big Ten. I was like, no, dude, I'm not. I'm rooting for Ohio State to lose. It just is what it is. I want to see them lose. So are you guys like that? We're like, oh, I'm pulling for the Lions for the North. Or are you like, no, I want to see the Lions lose this weekend?
Commanders,
no?
Baby.
Okay.
Commanders. Woo!
Right.
Yeah. You know what? The last couple of years, I've always said, like, I felt bad for the Lions. It's good to see them get a good coach and win. But after, the last 2 years, the comments the chirps, the confidence, hats off to you guys. You know, you should have the confidence, but I'm over it now, man. No, you can't. I want you guys going down. I want you going bad.
But I think Nick's pulling.
But I love you, Dion, man. I love you,
I
Dion, but I want
I
your
get
team
it.
to get your
I
ass
get it.
kicked.
Separate two things. It's all good. Nick's pulling for the Lions, though. I know Nick is. Nick's been riding with the Lions all year.
Even though the Washington Commanders, my team, the greatest team and all. Have you ever been to Washington? It's a pretty ugly place, but I'll make it a lot prettier. And Jaden Daniels, he's a beautiful quarterback. Dan Quinn, good guy. I'm still going to go with the Detroit Lions. We love Detroit. They make cars, lots of cars. We're going to bring back the automotive industry. It's going to be great. We're going to make the automotive industry great again. The Vikings, though, they're out. The Packers are out. And the Chicago Bears, they were stinky. They were like Hillary Clinton out there. Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. You happy, Dion? You happy?
Can't even be mad at that.
What are you going to do? It's just all fun and games. It's all fun. It's all good. It's just a football game. But I got the Lions winning this one bigger than I beat Camilla. We're going to win this one 42-3. And it's going to be a give me field goal.
Dion asked for it.
That's got to be clipped and just put.
That was fantastic. That's a great way to end this show, man. Look, we appreciate y'all joining, man. That was a fantastic way, Nick. I should have just let it end on that. But we'll see you guys next. I think so. I assume so. Next Wednesday as well to recap. Probably get some updates. Maybe will the Bears hire a head coach? I don't know. Probably not. I don't know. We'll
Probably
see.
not. We're not that smart.
A lot of interviews. Probably not hired anybody yet, though. So we'll see, man. Maybe we get some good updates next week. But it's mock draft season, and that's always a good season. Mock draft season.
It's a great season.
But
It's here.
It's one of the greatest.
Let's hold it off a little bit over here for a little bit, man. All right, man. We'll see y'all next Wednesday. Appreciate y'all joining. Join us next week for our recap of Lions Commanders, and we'll see y'all then. Shout out to BetUS. YouTube 150 is the code, and we're out.